Aloha, this is Jessica Smith responding to Hugh Nibley's talk, Work We Must, But the Lunch is Free. And in this talk he talks about the economics of the gospel. He talks about how there's basically two employers in the world. If you were to work for the world, it talks about how you need to earn your keep, you need to earn money so that you can be able to buy lunch, and the emphasis on work, and being productive. And being efficient in order to earn your keep, in order to earn your lunch. Whereas on the opposite end, you could also work for Heavenly Father and put in the best that you can, and the lunch is free. That He'll take care of our basic needs and basic wants, for example, by the law of consecration. That if we were to distribute the resources evenly, that everyone would be able to be taken care of, rather than, this rich versus poor. And he talks about the more effective use of materials before the work is done, and then we work after, in a sense. I may be getting that a little mixed up, but that's kind of how I see it. That he puts the emphasis on a different place, rather than how hard you work and getting an even match for how hard you work, and because that doesn't always necessarily work. Some people may work really hard and not always still have sufficient for the things that they need. They may not be able to buy food or clothing. So the first priority would be to evenly distribute those resources, and all be working together to obtain those resources that are being shared equally. And I really liked his arguments about how it takes care of both the individuals and the company, in a sense. We've talked about how sometimes, in order to work for the company, individuals must be sacrificed, because it just takes time and resources to take care of everyone, and that can be really hard to balance when you're trying to work for a company and for the greater good. So you either have to choose between the individual or taking care of the company. And in Brother Nibley's talk, he talks about how you don't necessarily have to choose one or the other. You can have both if you shift your perspective a little bit, especially through not exploiting the control that is over everyone. That there may be those that may be in charge, but they're more to make sure that individual needs are being taken care of, because individuals would by themselves be working for that which they needed, and for the employer. It says that if you take care of the individual, that the individuals will take care of the company. Somewhat of that trust, that lack of trust that we've talked about a little bit in class, between the company, we can have that in God's kingdom, was Brother Nibley's argument. And another thing would be that all the needs are being communicated. There's not necessarily any interruptions in the communication flow, because people are looking after one another and taking care of the company from the inside, and not necessarily giving all that control to one person that's being exploited. There's not necessarily a need to communicate with that higher up person, because the communication is more horizontal rather than vertical, like a hierarchy. Another thing I thought was interesting was that the different types of theories, the partial, partisan, and problematic, are probably a little bit less likely to happen. They're still most likely to be there, I think. I don't know if there is any way to completely get rid of those, just because other people may see them differently, but I see a lot less problems in Hugh Nibley's argument with it being partial, because God, knowing all and being able to see all, would be able to take care of all those as they come up, which some may argue if they don't believe in God, that may be hard to really comprehend. And I think that's why we have the system that we have now, is because there is a lack of trust in a God who can take care of all of these problems and without bias. as well as the lack of trust in between employees and employers. I think that the Hugh Nibley's argument makes more sense, but it certainly is a lot more difficult to be able to trust other people to do their share of work and to not be biased as we share those resources that are available to us.